When I bought my little piece of land outside the city, I thought I was finally free from all the rules and nonsense of cramped suburban life. I wanted space, peace, and the freedom to build what I wanted. But, as it turned out, even in a quiet neighborhood surrounded by trees, the HOA, Homeowners Association, found a way to meddle in my life. My property had a small creek running through it, and every time it rained, the water would rise, cutting off access to my garden and shed. I'd have to walk all the way around through muddy grass just to get to the other side. So, being a practical guy, I decided to build a small wooden bridge, strong, simple, and tasteful, to connect both parts of my land. I did all the right things. I measured, checked for utilities, made sure I wasn't breaking any environmental rules. The bridge looked great when it was done, a charming little addition that even some neighbors complimented. My kids loved it, and even the mailman said it made my place look like something out of a country postcard. Everything seemed fine, until I got a letter from the HOA. In big bold letters, it said, "Unauthorized construction. Fine. $350. I blinked twice, thinking it must be a mistake. My bridge wasn't on public property, it wasn't visible from the street, and it didn't affect anyone else. Still, the HOA claimed it violated community standards. They wanted me to either tear it down or pay the fine. I laughed at first, but the more I read, the more furious I became. Apparently, they had a rule against alterations to landscape without approval. Approval for a bridge on my own land. I decided to be polite. I attended their next meeting and explained that the bridge was entirely on my property, outside HOA jurisdiction, and built safely. But the head of the HOA, a woman named Brenda, looked at me like I was a criminal. "Rules are rules," she said smugly. "If we let you do this, everyone will start changing their yards however they want." I tried to reason with them, but it was like talking to a wall. They refused to budge. "Pay the $350, or we'll pursue legal action," Brenda warned. My patience ran out. I told them I wouldn't pay a dime for something they had no right to control. I went home, poured myself a cup of coffee, and started digging through the HOA's bylaws and property boundaries. If they wanted to play hardball, I'd play smarter. After a few hours of research, I found exactly what I needed. My property line was actually outside the HOA's jurisdiction by about 15 feet, meaning they had no legal control over that part of my land. In fact, the very creek that ran through my property served as the natural boundary of the HOA's managed area. They had fined me for something that legally wasn't even under their authority. That night, I drafted a polite but firm email attaching maps, property records, and a copy of their own charter. I ended with one line: "You might want to review your boundaries before threatening legal action." The next morning, I received an angry call from Brenda. "You think you can outsmart us?" she snapped. "This isn't over." Her tone was sharp, but I could tell she was nervous. I calmly replied, "Actually, Brenda, it might be. Because I've already forwarded this matter to the county property assessor, and they confirmed what I said is true." There was silence on the line. Then she muttered something about needing to check with the board, and hung up. A few days later, an official county inspector came by, not for me, but for the HOA. Apparently, my little email had triggered a review of HOA maps and boundaries. And guess what? The county discovered that not only had the HOA fined me illegally, but they'd also been collecting annual dues from 3 other homeowners whose properties technically fell outside their zone. That revelation sent the entire HOA board into chaos. Within a week, the HOA called for an emergency meeting. I was invited, probably because they had no choice. When I arrived, Brenda's usual smug face had turned pale. "We've decided to rescind the fine," she said quickly. "It was a misunderstanding." I didn't say anything at first. I just looked at her, waiting. Then she added, "And we'd like to apologize for the inconvenience." That's when I smiled. But that wasn't all. The county required the HOA to refund the improperly collected dues, thousands of dollars, and refile their boundary documents correctly. Every neighbor who had been overcharged was now aware of what had happened. Suddenly, Brenda's little empire of control crumbled. People started questioning every rule, every fee, every mandatory fine she had issued. Within a month, half the HOA board resigned. As for me, I kept my bridge. In fact, I added solar-powered lights to it, and even a small wooden sign that read, "Private Bridge, built with love and legal proof." Every time I crossed it, I couldn't help but grin. Later that summer, a few neighbors came by to thank me for standing up to the wall. One older man even said, "You saved us all a lot of money and trouble, son." It felt good, not because I'd won, but because I'd proven that standing up for fairness matters, even in the small things. Ironically, a few months later, the new HOA president stopped by to compliment my bridge. "It's beautiful," she said. "Maybe we can feature it in our community newsletter." I chuckled and replied, "Sure, as long as you don't fine me for good taste." We both laughed, and for the first time since I moved there, I actually felt like I belonged. It's funny how something as small as a wooden bridge taught me such a big lesson. Kindness doesn't mean letting people walk over you. Sometimes, the kindest thing you can do, for yourself and everyone else, is to stand firm, speak calmly, and let truth do the talking.